Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers, and this is Annie 255, and this is our final exam. It's hard to believe we're here. Hope you guys had a great semester and had fun doing all the simulations and dynamic stuff that we did, liquid simulations, and hopefully you enjoyed working with Phoenix FD and played around with that a little bit in V-Ray. V-Ray and Arnold are the future. Knowing both of those is a good idea. I still believe Arnold is a huge competitor, but I think V-Ray's got a little edge on them. So, but knowing both is good because some studios will not have V-Ray; they'll only have Arnold. So, knowing how to work at Arnold will help as well. All right. So, with that said, this is your scene. You're going to be opening up your Annie 255 final exam start. You're going to need to unzip it and go ahead and move it to the projects directory. But I've got everything set up. I even rigged the the water cannon here. So I've got these spheres all set up, renamed. You can see in the outliner I got everything renamed. If you want to move this around, you can click on the main controller at the bottom, and you can move it anywhere you want to. I've got everything else. You can't really move anything else. So I'll show you kind of how the rig works. So I'm going to go ahead and focus on this part right here. So here's the water cannon, and the idea here is the rigging is we've got the lever will be pulled back, so you can just hit the E key. Everything else is grayed out. Okay, so I try to keep it as simple as possible, and this goes up and down. Okay, you're not allowed to do any other rotation, so you can only do it one way anyway. So off is here and on is here. Okay, so off, on. Okay, and you can animate that, of course, keyframe animate that, and then we've got the turret rotation here, so you can rotate the turret. Okay, and then we've got the rotation of the base. Okay, now if you don't like the rotation icon to be so small, then you can go in here and the plus and minus keys on your keyboard will make that icon larger or smaller, whatever you prefer. Okay, however it works for you. Okay, so once you get the water cannon position, just leave it as is. Just leave it where you need to be. I got it placed right in the center of the four windows. You guys are going to be, this will be caught on fire. The spheres will be. You'll have to use the spheres to add the fire. And what I would also recommend is once you get the emitter inside, you don't want to push it too far inside, just within that little area in the open area here. And then you will want to go ahead, and once that emitter's in there, you're going to want to parent it to this guy. Okay. So when you raise this up and down, it will follow it. Okay? So once you do that, everything will work out just perfectly, meaning that whenever you move that up and down, it will move with it. Okay? And then all you have to do is just worry about animating the cannon, the water cannon, and it's just those two. So it'd be this guy right here and this guy right here. You'll be animating those two. And when I animate this, I've got the rig set up so that will follow this. Okay? Alright. So that's kind of how that's going to work. And then I don't care. These basically at the beginning of the simulation, the fire needs to start right away, which is good because that's what it wants to do. It wants to start right away. But you'll have to wait for the water coming out, so you'll have to shut the rate off on that. You'll have to keyframe the rate off at the beginning, and then you'll want to animate this on, and then the water will come out. You'll again, keyframe animate the rate of the emitter. Okay. Alright, a couple other things I want to talk about is I do want a secondary splash, so when the water does hit the building and you want to follow my Playblast, kind of what I've got. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to follow basically what I'm going to be doing. And it doesn't matter if you start with this window and put out the fires on each one, but you want to put out the fire for each one of those spheres. Okay, I've given you 400 frames. If you need more, feel free, but I don't think you'll need more than that. In fact, you'll probably have a lot less. I don't know. It depends on the length of your simulation. Okay. Again, we want high pressure. This is a very high pressure water cannon, so we want high pressure coming out, and we want it to look as realistic possible. Again, we want secondary. So if you have an emission and we go into end particles, make sure we're working with legacy particles. Okay, work with legacy particles here when we create an emitter. Also, this is the particle event editor. This is when you will have the particles collide with the building or the window. The building is part of that, and this is, you can see my street scene. If you want that turned off to see what the building is like, you can have that. You can easily turn that on, but I figured I'll just keep it off for now, but you can turn it on and off as you want, and I just wanted to show that to you. Okay, so in reference mode, it just is a lot easier to click on stuff, and then you can turn the reference mode off if you do a collision on the street and the sidewalk and all that other stuff. Now all this can be separated too as well. If you want to separate the buildings from the sidewalk, you can, and from the fire hydrant. I only put them together to keep things as simple as possible. But if you want to separate the buildings, all you have to do is select it and go into mesh separate, and that will separate everything. Okay. Alright. Okay. So you may want to, if you do stuff like that, always make sure you delete by type history. Okay, that's really, really essential. Okay. Alright, I think we got everything. Everything looks pretty good. Alright, so that's it. Good luck with the water cannon simulation, putting out the fire here. For your final exam, I wish you the best of luck. It shouldn't take longer than maybe an hour or two to get it finished, and some of you guys will get it done way faster than that, and that's fine. Again, we want a high pressure water to put out the fire, simulating you putting out the fire on each window, not all at once. Again, this will be a very focused stream to the windows and the fires, so it'll be just like, as realistic as possible. When it hits something, you'll do an event editor. You'll use the event editor and this is what I was showing you here, to break the particles up. Again, we've done that before. And feel free, particle collision event editor, feel free to watch my other videos. I think it was module 3. If you need help with how I did things, we put out a fire with the box simulation where the boxes got knocked over and everything. This is very similar to that. So module 3, if you need more help, and you can watch those videos. It's entirely fine with me. If you need to kind of get a refresh on that. And one last thing before I end this is that I've got everything set up. So we're doing 960 by 540. So I will need a render, and that's okay. This is a small render. Everything is all set up, and you need to have it set to software render, Maya, production quality, and Gaussian, and then ray tracing on. And then you got to go in here, and I think I've got a HD 540 is fine, so it should render super fast. And then you need to make sure you turn off the enable light. And then of course you have to add, once you turn the enable light or the default light off, you have to go in here and do a directional light. So you have to get that turned on. Okay. That is it for that. And then before you render, you need to, I've got a camera set up, so you go to View, Bookmarks, and Final Exam Camera, and that's the camera I want once you get everything all animated. But don't turn that on until you're all ready to go with your animation, because you're going to be, kind of focusing on this, getting your keyframe animation the way you want it. And I want you to follow my Playblast that I'm going to share with you guys as an example of what it should look like, and just get as close as you can. And that's how I'll be grading you. What you add, as long as you get the 4 fires put out one by one at a time. The timing can be off just a little bit from my Playblast. I know you can't get the exact timing because you just don't have time to sit there and okay, how many seconds did he do this one? How many seconds did he do that one? So as long as each fire gets put out within a 400 frame time frame and the water simulation looks good, and you're using gravity and you're using everything you've learned so far in the semester, you're good to go. Again, go to View, Bookmarks, Final Exam Camera, and this is where you're going to go ahead and set up your Playblast. So I've got everything set up. Unless you move this, this will work unless you move this, the water cannon. Okay, if you move this back out here, you'll have to move the camera. I've got it set up pretty close and an optimal. So if you do move this back, this camera shot won't work. So just keep that in mind. So AVI, you don't want to show ornaments. Encoding, we want XVID, highest quality, scale to be the highest. Frame padding, it's 400, so that would be something like 3. And then you want to save to file, and then you just want you want to put your first and last, your first initial, last name. Any 255 final exam, and save the Playblast on your desktop. Save the MB file for me, and give me a render of the fire before you put it out. Okay, meaning that you have your animation and the fire is raging. Just give me one full render of that, and you're good to go. You have 3 days to finish this. You have until Wednesday night at 11:59. Do not be late with this, not even 1 minute. Otherwise, it will be counted as a 0, and there's nothing I can do about that. Limits are limits. Alright, so I will see you guys soon, and I wish you the best, and have a great summer.